Tune and JustProfessor here. You think something is better just because it looks expensive. The product does the same thing as the cheaper version. The features are identical. The performance is the same, but one has sleek design, clean packaging, a polished interface, and suddenly you believe it is superior. You trust it more. You expect it to work better. You are willing to pay more for it, not because it actually is better, but because it looks better. And your brain takes that visual signal and turns it into a judgment about quality. You do not even realize you are doing it. You think you are making a logical choice. But you are not. You are reacting to design. And design is not the same as value. This is called the perceived value heuristic. And it is the reason companies spend millions on how things look instead of how things work. Here is how it works. Your brain uses shortcuts to make quick decisions. One of those shortcuts is appearance. When something looks high quality, your brain assumes it is high quality. When something looks cheap, your brain assumes it is cheap. This happens instantly, before you test it, before you research it, before you even know what it does. Your brain sees the design and makes a judgment. And that judgment affects everything else. How much you trust it, how much you are willing to pay for it, how satisfied you feel after using it. All of that is shaped by appearance, not by actual performance. This is why the perceived value heuristic is so dangerous. It makes you confuse presentation with substance. You think you are evaluating quality, but you are evaluating aesthetics. And those are not the same thing. A beautifully designed product can be garbage. An ugly product can be incredible. But your brain does not want to accept that. It wants the outside to match the inside. So it assumes they do, and you make choices based on that assumption. Most people think they are immune to this. They think they judge things objectively. They think they care about functionality over form. But they do not. Study after study shows that people rate identical products differently based on design alone. Same features, same performance, different look. And people will pay more for the one that looks better. They will trust it more. They will review it more positively. Not because it is better, but because it looks better. And they do not even realize they are doing it. Think about the last time you chose between two similar products. Maybe apps, maybe tools, maybe services. If one had a clean modern interface and the other looked outdated, which one did you pick? You probably picked the modern one. And you probably told yourself it was because it seemed more professional, more trustworthy, more reliable. But those judgments were based on design, not evidence. You did not test both thoroughly. You did not compare their actual performance. You just looked at them and made a choice, and appearance won. This is what the perceived value heuristic does. It makes surface-level design feel like deep-level quality. It makes polish feel like competence. It makes aesthetics feel like proof. And you fall for it every time, because your brain is wired to use appearance as a signal. And in a world where everything is competing for your attention, appearance is the easiest signal to manipulate. Now think about how companies exploit this. They know you judge quality by appearance, so they invest heavily in design. They make packaging that looks premium. They create interfaces that feel smooth. They use colors and fonts and layouts that signal professionalism, and it works. Not because their product is better, but because their design makes you think it is better. They are not selling you quality. They are selling you the feeling of quality, and your brain cannot tell the difference. This is why expensive products often feel better even when they are not. You buy a high-end version of something, and you convince yourself it performs better. It feels more reliable. It does what you need more efficiently. But if you tested it blind against a cheaper version, you might not notice a difference. The actual performance might be nearly identical, but the design made you expect more. An expectation shaped your experience. You felt the value because you saw the value, not because the value was real. Think about apps on your phone. You have two apps that do the same thing. One looks modern, clean icons, smooth animations, intuitive layout. The other looks basic. Simple design, no fancy features, just functionality. Which one do you trust more? Which one do you think is better? Most people pick the modern one. And they assume it works better, but often it does not. Often the basic app is faster, more stable, more reliable. But it does not look as good, so you never give it a chance. You judge it before you use it. And your judgment is based entirely on appearance. This is the trap. The perceived value heuristic makes you prioritize the wrong things. You focus on how something looks instead of how it works. You pay more for design instead of performance. You trust polish over substance. And you miss out on better options because they do not look as impressive. You are letting appearance make decisions for you. And appearance does not care about what actually matters. Now think about how this affects your own work. If you create something functional but it looks basic, people will undervalue it. They will assume it is not as good. They will trust it less. They will pay less for it, not because it is worse, but because it does not look expensive. And if you do not fix that, you lose. Not because your work is bad, but because you did not package it right. You did not make it look valuable, so people assumed it was not. This is the reality. In a world driven by the perceived value heuristic, appearance is currency, design is credibility, polish is proof. And if you do not understand that, you are at a disadvantage. You can build the best product, the best service, the best solution. But if it does not look the part, people will not see the value. They will judge you by your interface, by your packaging, by your presentation. And if those do not signal quality, they will assume quality is not there. This means the perceived value heuristic is not just about being fooled. It is about how the world works. You want people to judge your work on merit. But they do not. They judge it on appearance first. And if appearance does not pass the test, they never get to the merit. You want people to see the substance, but they see the surface. And if the surface does not impress them, they move on. You think this is shallow, and it is, but it is also reality. And ignoring reality does not change it. So here is what you need to understand. Appearance matters, not because it should, but because your brain makes it matter. When you see something that looks high quality, you assume it is high quality. When you see something that looks cheap, you assume it is cheap, and that assumption affects everything. Your trust, your expectations, your satisfaction, your willingness to pay. All shaped by design, all influenced by appearance, all driven by a heuristic that cares more about surfaces than depth. This does not mean substance does not matter. It does, but substance without presentation loses. Because people judge before they test. They decide before they know. They trust design more than they trust evidence. And if you want your work to succeed, you have to accept that. You have to make it look as good as it is. You have to match the inside with the outside. Because people will judge the outside first. And if the outside does not convince them, they never see the inside. The perceived value heuristic is not fair. But it is real, and once you understand it, you see it everywhere. In the apps you choose, the brands you trust, the products you pay more for. All of it shaped by appearance. All of it influenced by design. All of it driven by a shortcut your brain takes to make decisions faster, and that shortcut is costing you. Either by making you pay more for things that are not better, or by making people undervalue things you create because they do not look expensive enough. Stop pretending appearance does not matter. It does. Stop thinking you are above judging by looks. You are not. And stop ignoring the power of design, because design is not decoration. It is communication. It tells people what to expect, what to trust, what to value. And if your design does not say quality, people will not see quality, even if it is there. Watch the next video to see more ways your brain judges without thinking.